Hi, second grade. Mr. McDonald here for day 2 of subtracting within 1000. The strategy that we'll be talking about is using place value blocks. So I'm going to begin with just a slight review. We think of place value as hundreds, tens, and ones. There are more place values than hundreds, tens, and ones. However, these are the only ones we'll be focusing on for subtracting with 1000. We represent the hundreds with the letter H, and by drawing squares, which represent our hundreds blocks. If we were in class, we'd have the hundreds blocks. Tens are shown with the letter T, since that's what 10 starts with, and they're simply lines. And ones is the letter O. That's not a 0, that's a O for ones. And we draw ones as little circles. So let's go on to one more quick example before we get right into subtracting. For subtracting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to always start out by writing the letters H, T, and O. H, T, and O, which again stands for hundreds, tens, and ones. So if I was to make the number 541, I would draw 5 squares, one, two, three, 4, 5 hundreds, 1, 2, 3, 4 tens, so that would be 10, 20, 30, 40, and then a simple little circle for the 1. So let's take a look at an actual subtraction problem. These problems are going to have no regrouping, which means that all we have to do is cross out the number that we see. We're not going to have to worry about trading in anything. So it should be a little bit easier, but this is all no regrouping. I start with the number 941, and remember that since we're subtracting, that's the only number I need to draw. I see the 9 is in the hundreds place, since it comes first, so I would draw 9 hundreds. Notice how quick I'm doing it, and that I'm keeping my work nice and organized. And then I could draw like this for tens, or a line. And the second number we see is 4. 4 is 10. In the tens place, I should say. And then we've got 4 ones. Now good mathematicians double check their work, so let's go ahead and double check our work. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. Looking good so far. Then we've got 10, 20, 30, 40. I'm counting them by tens because that's in the 10 spot with the T. So that's why I wrote 10, 20, 30, 40. And then our last one's pretty easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 941 is what we start with. We go over here to our second number. The 5 is going to be the H for hundreds. The T is the 2 for tens. And then we have 1, 1. So I take a look here, and I know that I need to cross out 500, so 5 of the squares. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that leaves me with 4 hundreds left. You can see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Since we did the number 5, let's go to the number 2. And we're not adding, we're going to subtract, so we're going to cross out 2. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, and if I was to count this, I wouldn't count it 1, 2, I would count it as 10, 20. So I have 20, but I would write it as 2 tens. So just a little thing to think about, that we'd count it as 10, 20, but we wouldn't write 20, we would write the number 2, because that's how many tens there are. There's 1 10, 2 tens. And finally, we need to get rid of one of our ones. So I come over here. 4 minus 1 is 3. So our answer equals 423. Just like we did when we drew them, let's go ahead and double count. 100, 200, 300, 400, 410, 420, 421, 422, 423. My picture shows 423. My number says 423. Our answer is 423. So here's our last example we'll do today. 582 minus 260. I'm going to start with that 582, and that's what I'll draw. And then I want you to take a look at something over here. There's a 0. 0 means nothing. You'd be pretty happy if I said, I'm taking away 0 minutes of your recess. You'd be pretty mad if I said, oh, you did your homework, great job, you get 0 Jolly Ranchers as a thank you. So if you see that number 0, it basically means you get a free pass, you don't have to do anything. We will have to do something with the number 2 and the number 6. But when it comes to that 0, it just saves us a step. So let's draw our first number, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and we count by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So 8 lines, and then finally we've got our 2 ones. 1, 2. Now this is subtraction, so that tells me I don't need to do anything down here. Make a little line to remind you, don't do anything. All you have to do is draw that first number. We aren't drawing 260, we're going to cross out 260. So the 2, I wonder if that's going to cross out our tens, our hundreds, or our ones. It looks like it's with the H. Our H is hundreds, so we're going to cross out 1, 2 hundreds. Give a little check because we did it. 6 tens. You can count with me if you want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tens are gone. So we're not going to do anything with them. We're going to realize that they're not there anymore. That's why we cross them out. I only count what's not crossed out. I see 1, 2 is left. 2 what? 2 tens. And finally, we got to that number 0 here. You're going to notice my marker's not even going over there. I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm going to subtract 0. And when you subtract 0, you don't do anything. 2 minus 0 is 2. The number stays the same. So all we have to do is count what's left. 100, 200, 300. 1, 2. I wonder if we're going to write 12 or 20. Well, let's see. Are we counting by ones or tens? That's right, we're counting by 10, so I would say 10, 20. And I would just write the number 2 because it's 2 tens. 2 tens is the same thing as 20. There we go. And all I see over here is 1, 2. Nothing got crossed out. 2 ones would be counted as 1, 2. So it would be 2. 2 minus 0 is 2. Our hundreds are 3 hundreds. We have 2 tens, and the number 2 for ones. So our final answer is going to be 322. Let's see if that matches. 100, 200, 300. Our hundreds match. We've got 1, 2 tens. Our tens match. And 1, 2 ones. So great job, 2nd grade. Remember, if you see a 0 in any place, you don't have to do anything. If it's in the first number, you would just not draw anything. And if it's in the number that you subtract, you just skip it, you just leave it the way it's drawn, and you don't have to get tricked up by that. Keep up the good work, and practice makes perfect.